Okay, so let's continue now. So we've completed the pillars of intimacy and we have a better understanding of the things in our life that actually help to bring strength to relationships. And that's really what we want to do because, as I said earlier, life happens all by itself. Hey, drama's going to happen. There's going to be outside forces that are going to blow against that relationship, just like a house in a hurricane. And you want to make sure the foundation is as strong as possible in order to make it through some of these more difficult challenges that you'll face in a relationship. And so the first thing with the pillars is that we get to know ourselves better. And that's important. We really want to know what we like about life. We too often people will float through life and say, you know what, I don't know what I want. I'll just get what I can when I can. That's not what we want for you because you'll never have purpose if that happens. You have to be very clear on what you're looking for in life to help to bring satisfaction and a quality of life. And then you want to join forces with someone who has those equal shared pillars so that you can actually really build it together. Now, someone told me once, and of course, I think everybody has heard this, opposites attract. Well, the rest of that sentence is, and then they attack. So it's important that while there will be natural differences in personalities and natural differences in perspectives and desires in life, if we intentionally are looking for people who have very opposing views to us, then it could really create a problem. A great example would be even a political one. Let's say you and your significant other or your spouse, you do not share the same political views, and especially in today's times where it might be quite embroiled in the political circles, that could create a lot of tension at home. And so, listen, you're supposed to have harmony. You're really supposed to enjoy life. It doesn't need to be wasted on issues that should have been solved ahead of time. That's why they put the foundation in first when they're building the house. They don't put the foundation after the house has been erected. It's first. So deal with these issues first in order to avoid trouble later. Okay, now it gets even more exciting. We're going to talk about the top of the house. This is where you talk about your style. What's the style of your house? And with style, we include purpose, pathway, and your personality. Now, and later on, we're going to be talking about more about your personality. And so, but right now, what we want you to just to do is you're going to be talking about if you're gregarious, you're extrovert, introvert, and we'll address that in a couple of pages. And so, what is your purpose? What is your pathway? And what's your personality? And so, you're going to take a few minutes and you're going to write that down. Hey, what is your purpose? And again, if you still aren't quite certain about it, that's actually okay. Excuse me, because that will maybe get some more clarity over a period of time, and especially as you're going through this course. Okay, so, and then what's your pathway? Pathway simply means how are you going to get there? So let's take a look at this. Do you think that it's important for you to know your purpose in a relationship? If you do, why do you think that's important? I think it's very important because you need to know where you're going with it. You just don't want to, float around and say, oh, one day, because that means you like the idea of having a purpose, but you're not really wanting to go for it. Explain and write out what your purpose is if you think you know what it is. Or if you have a good idea, say, hey, this is what it is. If you're kind of have inklings about what it is, then you can also put that in there as well. What happens to your relationships if you do not know or not actively engaging in your purpose? I can tell you what will happen. There's a very interesting study that was done, and actually it's been replicated many times. But this nurse did a study in England, and she was researching the regrets of people who were close to the end of their life. These were elderly folks who had lived a long life, and they were close to their end. And without exception, they all had regret that they didn't do what they wanted to do when they had the chance. That they didn't pursue their desires and their interests, and they didn't spend enough time building healthy relationships. And see, that's massive. And see, regret at that end of the spectrum is tough because at that end, you're pretty much saying I've run out of time and I'm not going to be able to live my purpose. And I regret that I didn't. And so if you are not actively engaging in pursuing your purpose, it's going to create some conflict because you're going to say something's missing, I'm frustrated, and you just don't want to live each day just to live each day. It has to have meaning, and that's what purpose really brings, is real meaning, because it taps into the core of who you are. Hence we call it core purpose. It's who you really are. That's the authentic you. What's your pathway? Where are you going? And what steps have you taken to protect your future? And remember, just like Casey had to protect her future, what are you going to do to protect your future? What kind of boundaries? And we'll be talking about that here in the next couple of sessions a little bit more. So what's your pathway? Do you have a plan? So you can't just think about it and say, oh, one of these days I think, or maybe if this happens, no, you have to actively engage in this. Because remember, the investment model says that you're taking full responsibility for your life. You don't get to blame anybody. You don't get to blame mom and dad. You don't get to blame ex-relationships or current relationships. You can't blame your children. You can't blame anybody. You have to be able to say, wow, all those things that I experienced in my life, good, bad, or indifferent, are things that I can learn from. And they actually have contributed to my life if I look for the healthy meaning in them. And so Pathway says, I have to have a plan. I can't make excuses. And so spend some time going through this page and really be thoughtful what kind of a plan you should put together. And it may be that you need help. Maybe you do need to go to college. Maybe you need to find out where there's grants and scholarships and organizations. I'm a mentor in an organization where they provide 100% scholarship for 4 years for undergrad. And so we work with women who need to get these degrees, but who have demonstrated, hey, I have a plan. I know what I want to do, much like what Casey did. And so you need to put this down, what exactly you're looking for in order to accomplish your purpose. So this is your plan, your path. And then your personality. And so what you want to do on top of this house that you see here, you see all these lines, you can add more lines. You can put down, first of all, I want you to put down what you think your purpose is, and then your pathway. What kind of plans? Like, I need to finish my degree, I need to go to a trade school, I need to become an intern somewhere, whatever it is that you need to do for the educational component of your purpose. And again, it may be informal, but you need to write it down exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to accomplish it. And then you're going to put down your personality here. Hey, you know what? I'm very outgoing. I'm an extrovert. And so I love to socialize. I love to be with people. We have so much fun together. This is what I want to do. I want to make sure I have a lot of house parties. Or I'm an introvert. Hey, you know what? I want to sit in my hammock and read a book. That's what I enjoy doing. And if you enjoy that, then we can talk about books. Maybe we can join a book club. And so what you want to do is put down all the differences that you have that make you uniquely you. And so when you come together with someone else and they have their model that they've put together, excuse me, let me just stay back on this. There we go. What you want to do is you're going to list your pillars of intimacy and then all the top piece of this house together. And when you're finished with that, you have this beautiful, very clear model about who you are and what you're looking for in life. Then you can compare the whole model again with either maybe your spouse if you're already married, and they can construct a model. And then you can compare the two and have topics of discussion. How can we develop our relationship so it's more meaningful, that we don't get into that rut where we're like, yeah, you know, she can do what she wants or he can do what he wants. You want to make it meaningful, because let me tell you something about marriage. I believe that marriage is a great example of people who can together change their communities. And I'm all about power couples. I think that power couples really speak to who we are inside. And I think that many people say, wow, I wish I was like this power couple, because when they're together, it just seems like the world just takes a bow and lets them do what they need to do in life. And so if you think that one person is strong, can you imagine two people coming together that are strong, and what we can accomplish to change our community? And so it's really important for you to be able to use these models to edify, to build up, and to have conversation in order to develop a marriage if you're already involved in a marriage. And again, if you're not involved in a marriage, now you have this beautiful, beautiful model that you understand yourself. And you're saying, hey, this is actually what I'm looking for in life. And it will help you as you're navigating relationships in the future, who you're really looking for, so that you can have that union that'll come together, and it'll be a very strong, very robust relationship that's not only a good example to those around you, but you'll be an incredibly good example for your children, should you have children in the future. And so spend some time assembling this, and then just take a look at it, and say, wow, that's really what I want out of life and what I want in a relationship. And then again, if you need to, then you can compare it with a spouse if you have that, or a significant other, and then have conversation to make that relationship even stronger. Now, the House of Cards, I want you to spend some time going over this. Building a relationship with the wrong pillars can create problems that that you may not see for years. And so it's important to be honest with these pillars. Don't fudge on these. You'll regret it later. And take some time, read through this, and really be clear that, hey, I'm not going to compromise on some of these things, because compromise can happen on top of the house, but compromise cannot happen underneath the house, not on the foundations. That's always a really bad idea. And so enjoy doing your models. And I'm really excited to hear back from some of you as you complete these models, and some of the stories that you go through as you're going through Core Purpose, because I know that change is coming. And in fact, I suspect that you've already experienced some 1/8 inch changes just over the few chapters that you've done, because you've been able to identify and realize, wow, I can make small adjustments. And that's what I really want to do. Okay? All right. I'll see you at the next session.